how does this affect the squad? Is this just an act, and do you think within the squad everything is fine, or do you think it resonates within it and could have a detrimental effect at the start of the new season?
I think it has to have an effect on the squad. And yes, I get that it's a message to Ed Woodward, but I think the knock-on effect is a whole lot greater. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It all depends on how Jose Mourinho is handling things behind the scenes, how his one-on-one relationships are with the players. Now, that we may never know. That will stay in private between him and the players. But you can't help but feel that this constant criticism, your manager constantly telling you this squad and my players that we have right now are not good enough, has to have an effect. It's not just once he's saying this. He's saying it every single opportunity, regardless of who it is we're talking about, regardless of who the opposition or who his starting 11 may be. And that has to be a concern. We've seen it over the last couple of years with any number of players, from Luke Shaw come all the way through to even Bailey a couple of days ago, where he's trying to praise him for putting his hand up and taking some initiative and playing the game, but rather ridiculously then throws him under the bus and says he's not a leader. The only reason he's here is because he's a nice guy. I don't get it.
Now, the suggestions are that the players are scared. They're treading on eggshells because they don't be the next one that's being thrown under the bus. We saw Martial, Valencia, Pogba all recently. How can you coach like this when your players are scared of you?
You can't. It's absolutely impossible. What he's doing, there's no way that the players are not terribly affected by this. This is going to be a lot of young kids out there, obviously. It's destroying their careers. His antics are absolutely atrocious. And I think that Woodward maybe is sending a message to Jose by saying, you give me 5 names, mate, but we ain't got any in. Now, that's a problem. The window's going to close in 9 days, and nobody's through the door yet. We're all saying, I think all as one, we're saying that they need a central defender, but nobody's coming through the door. I think that's very, very alarming for Mourinho.
But has Mourinho got a point in a sense that you look at this Manchester United squad, and I don't think anyone can really put up a strong argument that they're going to go and win the Premier League. So they need reinforcements, they need new players. Ed Woodward needs to help him out here, and maybe this is the last resort.
It is. I can understand why he's upset, because look at all the purchases that everyone else is making. Look what Liverpool has done, right? So I think he's an insecure man, and he's looking around to see everyone else and what they've done in the off-season. And he can't compete with that, with what the back office has done. So I think he's frustrated. And it's like getting mad at your parents and going to school and beating somebody up. And you're trying to say, oh, no, it's, I didn't mean to do it. But to be a good coach, you need to be a great leader and a master motivator. But when you tear everyone around you down and when you burn every bridge, nobody's going to want to play for you.
He's going to last the season, Shai. He's the favourite, isn't he, according to the bookies, to be the first one sacked in the Premier League.
I still think he will last this season. He signed a new deal back in January. I just think it becomes too costly to sack him otherwise. Is there a ready-made replacement? A question I asked today. People telling me that maybe Zinedine Zidane, but you're not sure whether this is a job that he's going to want. I think he's safe and he sees out the end of the season. Manchester United have invested a lot in Mourinho and Mourinho's squad. We have to see exactly how much more that investment comes. Another part to this Mourinho statement that I find a little bit off-putting is he says give 5 names. Now, nobody knows who those 5 names are. Nobody knows if 4 of those names decided to go elsewhere, which could very well be a possibility. So there's a lot of layers to this still, I believe.
What's the general feeling around the squad going into the start of the new season?
Well, I think there's a sense that while they haven't made huge additions to the squad, that there isn't necessarily a need to do so. Now, obviously, the initial reaction to the departure of Cristiano Ronaldo was for everyone to say, right, who comes in to replace him? But I think over the few weeks that we've had since then, over the first week or so of pre-season training, if you like, how would I explain this? Kind of the emotional management, if you like, of Cristiano Ronaldo departing. There has been a sense of people finding this realisation that there's really, really good players in the squad, that Gareth Bale can take a step up, that Asensio can play a much more significant role this year than last year, that maybe Karim Benzema can become somewhat less of a facilitator for Cristiano Ronaldo and more of a player for his own right, that the quality that Luka Modric demonstrated, which they already knew about, of course, but demonstrated again in the World Cup, I think has led to a certain degree of optimism going into this season, and the sense that maybe Lopetegui is the right person to get something out of particularly that younger generation of mainly Spanish players.
Let's take a look, shall we, at the possible starting 11 for Real Madrid. And Cristiano Ronaldo, as Sid said, his departure has dominated our conversation, but still, that's a really good team, isn't it? Good enough to win La Liga?
Well, that's a bit of a big statement, but that starting 11 is you know, yeah, that starting 11 can win La Liga, yes. Very, very good starting 11.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say yes, but then you have to keep in mind that this squad plus Cristiano Ronaldo hasn't made La Liga a priority over the last few years. Only what, 2 or 3 to show over the last decade. But still, you look at the starting 11. And it's an incredibly talented starting 11. Maybe you want to say this Real Madrid team doesn't have the depth, maybe to compete in both the league and Champions League in the manner that you may expect. But as a starting 11, everybody stays fit. That is an outstanding team.
Sid, what was interesting last season, I thought, with regards to Real Madrid, obviously they started the season badly, and then pretty much that was it, wasn't it? It kind of threw in the towel with regards to the domestic challenge, put all their eggs in the Champions League basket. We know how that came out. I imagine this time round La Liga is even more of a priority than it has been over previous seasons.
I think a little bit, yeah. And I think obviously, you know, it's worth pointing out that as you've suggested there, that up to a point there was this sense of them kind of giving up on the league title. But I think they gave up on the league title at the point at which they already thought that it had gone. I think it's important not to, and I think Real Madrid are thinking this at club level, it's important not to let that squad of players off the hook for not winning the league on the grounds that, well, you know, you kind of threw in the towel and won the Champions League, so it's fine. It's not fine. And, you know, 2 league titles in 9 years is not good enough for a club that's as big as Real Madrid. And I think you're right. In that sense, the league will become partly a priority this year. But bear in mind that it was 2 years ago as well. And Zidane, more than anybody else at Real Madrid, where they've always made a very big thing about the Champions League, where the Champions League is where their identity has been forged and kind of been projected over the years. But Zidane publicly said time and time again that he wanted to win the league. They won the league title 2 years ago. This year, even when they were in the semi-final of the Champions League, even when they got to the final of the Champions League, even after winning the Champions League, Zidane kept saying, the moment that's given me the most success was winning the league title. So he, at least, always had it as a priority, even if it's true that he then went and won 3 European Cups.
You take a look at their summer, and it's been relatively quiet. Malcolm, Arthur and Clement coming in. What's interesting is the fact that obviously Denis Suarez, you had Gomez as well, were suspected that they were going to go out, maybe creating a little more transfer funds for Barca to spend. But of course, both of those are now injured. Does that suggest that's pretty much it for Barca in the transfer market?
Well, it doesn't guarantee, obviously, that those two don't depart, but it makes it much, much more difficult. Barcelona are already relatively constrained in the transfer market, fundamentally because, of course, it seems like a very long time ago now, but they were convinced they were getting Antoine Griezmann. You know, they thought they were getting him. He had given them assurances that he was going to go there. In the end, he decided to stay. Barcelona were caught short by that. They didn't have a plan B. They didn't have another player in mind in terms of a big-name player that would genuinely give the level of the squad a boost. Now, obviously, the other signings they've made are slightly of a lesser level. The departure of Paulinho, which I know a lot of fans think doesn't matter, but Valverde certainly thinks it matters. He wants a central midfielder. He would very much like it to be Dani Parejo, but he wanted Parejo last year and didn't get him then either. So right now they've got a situation in which it feels like the squad is a little weaker. The departure of Iniesta, the departure of Paulinho, the fact they haven't bought Griezmann. The question marks, of course, about the future of Dembélé, and if he gets it right, could be a great player, but that's very much up in the air at the moment. So, yeah, there does feel, and maybe a little unfairly, but it does feel like Barcelona are a little bit of a kind of an unknown package at the moment.
Sid, let's talk about Dembélé. It's incredible when you think the amount of money that they spent on him. Yet he's not necessarily going to start this season. There have been reports that some of his representatives flew in for an emergency meeting concerned about the signing of Malcolm and where it would leave their client this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose let's slightly unpack the phrasing there. You know, fly in for an emergency meeting makes it sound very, very dramatic. It is true that there are concerns, and it's true there have been conversations about what happens with him. This is always the case with big players who don't play significant roles when a transfer window opens. Barcelona's intention, or at least this is what they're saying, is for him to stay. They very much hope, of course, at boardroom level, they very much hope that he's going to play a key role. Why do they hope that? For all sorts of reasons. One, because he's theoretically a very good player, and two, of course, because they're going to look very, very stupid if for a second season he doesn't have a key role to play. Now, in the first season, there are a couple of key injuries. But remember, we talked about this right back last summer when Neymar went for 222 million euros. And on this show, I said, the best thing Barcelona can do right now is do nothing. Part of the problem wasn't necessarily that they signed Dembele, but they signed Dembele with that 222 million euros in a moment of, we've got to get someone. What do we do? It's got to be someone. And so they overspent for him. They loaded pressure on him. They loaded pressure on themselves. This is a player that a year before they could have got for around about 20 million euros. And so it's a player who could well still be great, but the amount of pressure put on, I think, was detrimental to him succeeding at Barcelona. And of course, that's a problem which 12 months further on, they still have to deal with. Now, as I said, all of that is the mentality of the club, boardroom level. The manager is different. The manager wants results. He wants a player he thinks he can trust. He wants a player he thinks he can mould. And right now, he's not convinced that he has any of those things.
Welcome into extra time, an aggressive start to this segment. Kate predicts something for the upcoming Premier League season.
Ooh, very aggressive.
Ooh.
Very aggressive.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
3 explanations.
Whoa.
Right, you can't just say a team.
Yeah, what?
There has to be some sort of context that's with it.
I think Liverpool is going to challenge.
No, that's
That's not a prediction. That's
Okay,
just
that's a
kinda...
wish. That's a wish. What?
What a prediction.
A
A
prediction.
prediction of what?
A prediction. Who's going to win the league? Who's going to get relegated? Who's going to finish 7th? Who's going to finish 12th?
Who's going to get
I think
sacked?
Arsenal is going to be better defensively.
Whoa.
So I do.
Where are they going to
Okay,
finish?
you're really
Kate?
pushing the
Okay.
ball.
I know, right?
I hope
So we're going to
you're
go with
right.
4.
I have
I
never
think
seen-
Jose is going to get sacked at the end of the
that's
season.
good. That's a prediction.
And I think Liverpool is going to win. Oh, I hope. I don't think they will, but I hope.
That's two good ones.
Wow.
Which will be more exciting league this year, considering the transfers and managerial changes, La Liga or the Premier League? Is Sid with us still? Sid loves this question.
Give it to Sid.
Sid, which
Come
will
on,
be more
Sidney.
exciting, La
Look
Liga
at
or the
Sidney.
Premier
Look at his
League?
face. Look at the smile.
He's like, yes.
Oh, goodness. I don't know the answer to this. What's going to be more exciting? La Liga.
Whoa.
I have to say that. What else am I going to
Wait,
say?
Sid,
Come on.
we've got a picture of you with some sort of alligator crocodile species. Where's this from?
Alligator crocodile
Yeah.
species.
What's that?
It's fair to say I was a little bit scared.
What were you
But that
doing?
crocodile's real. I was saying hello to him.
Sid, what possessed you to do that?
What does it look like I'm doing?
Why did you do that?
No. That's right. Because they told me. Now I'm not normally this easily. I didn't entirely believe them. I had to see others do it first. They told me that these crocodiles are really friendly and won't do anything, and they were right. They didn't do anything.
Sid Lowe.
And you believe them,
You
Sid?
can't be that dumb.
Sid Lowe, crocodile hunter.
As I said, that I did at least have the good sense to let someone else go first. I wanted to see this myself first.
Well, what difference does that make?
He's now walking with a bit of a limp, that bloke, but apart from that, everything's fine.
Sid can't run too fast either, can he?
Wow.
I bet that crocodile is
Exactly.
Sid.
You'd never fall for that, would you?
I
Oh,
wouldn't.
You see, the problem wasn't the crocodile itself, the one that I was saying hello to. The problem was that this is by a pool in the Gambia, in Africa, and there's about 15 or 20 crocodiles. The problem isn't that you kind of, kneel down and stroke the top of a crocodile. The problem is that when you're doing this, 2 or 3 other crocodiles are manoeuvring themselves just behind you. And you're thinking, yeah, this one's all right, but what about them back there?
There's no way.
Oh, damn those manoeuvrers.
And you still did it. And you still did it.
Well, why do you want to stroke a crocodile?
You don't.
I
You don't.
I don't know, let's ask them. Why did you want to stroke one in the
come
first
on.
place, Sid?
Oh, come on, a crocodile. If someone says to you, go and say hello to a crocodile, I mean...
No.
Right, now,
No.
this is one from my childhood, which might be a song that no one's ever heard of, and I might be totally mad. But wasn't there a song once about never smile at a crocodile?
Never smile
Right.
at a crocodile.
And I listened to that
No,
throughout
you
my...
can't get
That's the
friendly
one.
with a
And I listened to that
crocodile.
throughout...
Don't be
The
taken
crocodile.
in.
Don't be
Oh, my
taken
God.
in
There you
by
are.
his welcome grin. He's
Beautiful.
imagining
Yeah.
how well you'd fit within
Okay.
his skin. Anyway, having been brought up on that song, I was still stupid enough to go and grin at this crocodile and go, all right, mate, how you doing?
Our producer's worried the royalties we have to pay to the
wait a minute.
crocodiles.
No, don't worry. Nobody will claim that singing. Nobody's going to claim that.
Have you heard that song before? You must.
Never.
No.
Really?
So let me get this straight. You have a kid's song saying don't pet a crocodile, or don't smile at a crocodile, so you decide to pat a crocodile? You all have bad kids songs.
Well, to be honest with you, Shaq, I don't take all of my life advice from songs I heard as a kid. Not all of it.
Wow.
Some of it, obviously.
Some you do.
Every now and again you
Just the
can
crocodile ones.
This actually reminds me. This actually reminds me of a story in my local paper in North London, and I
dear.
particularly remember this because the confession time here. My sister wrote the story, but it was a story about a dodgy butcher's
better be
somewhere
good.
near Wood Green in North London, and they had been selling crocodile meat, but obviously not admitting it was crocodile meat. Anyway, when the health inspectors turned up, there was no more of this meat left. It had all been snapped up, and that was in the local paper.
Oh, goodness me.
Dear Lord.
Oh, that punchline.
What?
That was a long wait for a punchline.
Sid, which would be more exciting,
It was
La
worth it
Liga
though,
or the
Jack.
Premier League?
Yeah, answer the question.
I said La Liga, didn't I?
Oh, okay.
No.
I must have fallen asleep for that.
Paul, do United have any chance of winning the league next season?
No, absolutely not. The way that it's going there is absolute mess. Mourinho's got a lot of building to do with his players and rebuilding that back line. Absolute key that he keeps certain players. Young's getting old, Valencia's getting old, Valencia's injured, problems all over the place. No,
Have you ever eaten crocodile?
I most certainly have not.
I think I have somewhere along the way.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Gatorland? Does Gatorland sell? Gator?
No,
I don't know why you look at me.
that's a kid's park, isn't it?
Sure you can eat
He
Gator.
said, hey, and you can also eat the gators as well. Fantastic, Dad.
What do you mean, petting zoos? I've got a bacon party around the corner and they have burgers and
Yeah, it
things.
was slightly different. Alligators.
Bring the animals.
What kind of petting zoo you go to that sell the animals? Yeah, pat it for one last time.
Outside of the studio, this kid's got
Say
some
goodbye.
Ostrich
Say goodbye.
patty,
Say goodbye to this little animal
camel
here.
patty.
Oh, we're talking about goats now. When will Shaka admit that you don't need a World Cup to be the goat?
Oh, whoever asked that question is a goat.
Have you ever eaten goat?
Oh, yeah!
Have you eaten goat?
Goat is delicious.
Oh, yeah, what's it taste like?
Like goat.
Does it?
Yeah.
And that would be like,
When did you eat goat?
We eat goat all the time in the Caribbean.
Oh.
All the
Oh, I
time.
like you use it as a verb as well.
Huh?
We eat goat all the time.
I said we eat goat all the
Yeah, it's
time.
definitely that we eat.
I said goat. I said eat. I said eat and goat.
what do you have with it?
Well, it depends.
Gravy.
I had
No gravy.
I had a goat roti
Crocodile.
last week. 2 weeks ago.
A goat what?
Roti's a Trinidadian food.
Oh, what's that, Chan?
It's-
Was that on one of your holidays?
Explain
No,
what
I
it
got it
is.
right in Boston.
What is it?
It's
Go on, hurry up.
it's a bread.
He's a goalie, by the
It's a
way.
bread, kind of like a pita bread, but fatter, and
Okay, all
far,
right, all
far better. And you have your meat, could be goat or beef, or and then you have it with chickpeas. It's like a big burrito. That's what it's like.
I'm in. Sounds great. Next time you're in Boston, we're in.
Boom. We're gonna go around the alleys.
Okay, here we go. I like this person because he didn't want to Google it. I like it if you don't Google things.
Why are you laughing?
You got to know these.
I've got a
Get the
Wikipedia
spread.
tab.
Yeah, you like a Wikipedia.
I'm gonna bring goat. I'm gonna bring a goat roast
Lots
in
of
for
goat.
everybody.
Banging on about goats.
Chickpeas.
I don't want to Google this up, but please, who's younger between Shaka Hislop and Sid Lowe?
Ooh.
Last time they had an argument about who was older. So, Kate, who would you go for, Shaka or Sid? Who is the elder gentleman in this? There's a picture of Shaka. Yeah. Do you want to see Sid as well? There he is.
This is going to be cruel, isn't it? I can't see the picture, but I can imagine it.
Hi, Sid. Hi, Sid.
Okay, so who you going for, Kate? Who's the oldest?
Well, I think anyone that would pet a crocodile
Yes.
lacks maybe a little bit of
Maturity.
prefrontal cortex judgment.
Right.
So I'm going to go with Sid being younger.
Sid's younger?
Yeah,
Paul?
Sid's most definitely younger.
Yeah, I think that's right. And Shaka, you're 50?
No,
50?
I'm mid 40s-ish.
Shaka's
What are you, 55?
I'm mid 40s-ish.
49.
What's that?
49?
Wait.
Okay, 49.
How old are you,
Where's that
Sid?
range?
I'm mid 40s-ish, Kate. Just
I
leave
don't
it
know,
at that.
how old am I? Not old enough.
You got
I was born in '76. So how old
What?
is
We're
that?
the
Same.
Just say you're
42.
42?
You'll be 42.
62.
42.
42.
Yeah.
I'm around
That's the
that.
same age.
I'm 42-ish.
I'm going on 66.
I'm 42-ish.
That's not mid
Look,
40s.
every year of it.
Thank you very much
ESPN
indeed.
FC returns tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. I'm off for a
Sid's
week.
got me by 3 weeks. I'm 42ish.
No, he hasn't.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I'm 42ish.
That's
He didn't
it.
give the
Let's go
date.
with that. Let's just go with that.
Let's go and eat some goats.
Wait.
Go rotis.
I know a good petting zoo.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Liverpool are building momentum. They've certainly got pressure on them now as they assemble a squad they hope will be able to deliver the league title. But Xhaka, as they certainly have a different feel about them in this pre-season, are they willing and are they able to withstand a massive offer were it to come in for one of their superstars?
Well, it depends on who that offer comes from. I think that Liverpool are now in a position that if that offer were to come from another Premier League club, regardless of whether it were Manchester United or Manchester City or somebody who can really stump up the cash to turn heads in the Liverpool boardroom, I think they can turn that down. I think players feel that this is a club now positioned to challenge at the highest levels of the Premier League. And if that bid were to come in, there'd be no real reason to leave for pastures new. I still feel that if that bidding club were Real Madrid or Barcelona, never mind the finances turning heads in the boardroom, just as a player and given the status and stature of those Spanish clubs, how you say no? I still think that piques an interest for the player. Money, not an issue at boardroom level, as I mentioned, but other than those two, I think that Liverpool are, as you put it, Ross, well positioned to deny any such overtures.
As they look to maybe get Mane down to the new contract as well, they've got Salah and Firmino as well. It seems as though they're willing to give it, at least this year, a real good go. The new goalkeeper in at the back, building in every single area. They've used the money wisely. If you look at the departures over the years, they've not always been able to invest that fully. But look at that. Philippe Coutinho's £142 million fee from Barcelona. And it seems like they've put that to really good use in assembling a squad that will stay together.
Without question. And as much as we talk about the Premier League and the money involved there and the new spending power of those clubs, 142 million for Firmino is now gone on Van Dijk, roughly, and Alisson. Now that has bolstered this squad incredibly. I think one of the effects of Coutinho's departure that maybe we didn't anticipate beforehand is exactly how good Mo Salah has been as part of that front three. And now you have a front three of Firmino, Mane and Salah that can carry that load, and now almost makes the departure of Philippe Coutinho an afterthought and easy to forget. Now, if you can continue to get that kind of a return, Van Dijk continues to be as big a presence in that back four as he had been in the 6 months so far, and Alisson delivers on the promise and the expectation, what we come to expect from his time at Roma. Yes, I think Liverpool are well looked after in every single department. Does that make them favourites to win the Premier League? As of right now, no. I still think Manchester City are ahead of them in that regard. But as I look up and down that table, I have them as firm seconds at this point, which is better than we've been able to say for Liverpool for quite some time.
Yes, only one trophy in the last 12 years for Liverpool. Is this the year that silverware comes to Anfield? Looking promising. For the first time in 10 years, Real Madrid are going to have to do without the goals of Cristiano Ronaldo. How are they going to manage to bring that title back to the Bernabeu without him? I guess that's the big question. Unless they replace 40-odd goals a season in all competitions, how on earth are they close to Barcelona?
Well, they spread those goals around. Without question, Real Madrid are now going to have to rediscover or redefine how they play post-Cristiano Ronaldo. And it's easy to forget exactly how talented this squad, this potential starting 11 is. Yes, we had some tweets from Karim Benzema that suggested he'd be on his way out, and Gareth Bale also suggested that he may be looking for pastures anew himself. But with Ronaldo now out of the picture, they have new roles and a new position within this team that I think is enough to keep them there. As I mentioned, this is an incredibly talented squad. Life after Ronaldo was going to have to come to Real Madrid at some point. A storied history before Ronaldo, Real Madrid will have a storied history after. And this is where it starts. And I think this is the kinds of pressure and the kinds of circumstances that big players respond to. And in a week that we've been critical of managers and what they had to say about their squads and their pre-seasons, I think Lopetegui played this perfectly in saying that if nobody left and nobody came in, he was very happy with what he had to work in. He was confident in the players at his disposal. That gives a certain amount of confidence to these players about their talent, about their abilities, and the fact that, yes, you're 3 times European champions, but it wasn't all down to Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think that's as good a starting foot to get off on with a new manager as any.
He's got a massive job on his hand. He's got to really get the best out of those players to step up in his absence, because at times they didn't play to their potential and required Ronaldo to bail them out. Do you, no pun intended, do you expect Bale and Benzema to really step up, and do you think that they really need a fresh impetus in order that they reach their maximum potential?
I fully expect Gareth Bale to step it up. This is the opportunity that he's been waiting for ever since he arrived at the Bernabeu. I think there are the question marks around Karim Benzema. Given kind of how the fans have responded to him, I know Bale was similar as well, I think the best value, the biggest value that Karim Benzema brought to that team is how he was able to get the best out of Ronaldo in his own positioning, in his own work rate, in how he played and how he altered what he did for Ronaldo to continue to be at his best and continue to have the returns that he did. Now, can Benzema reshape his own game to fit in with this starting 11? That's the bigger question mark for me. And maybe you do need another striker, as it were. But maybe he should be afforded that opportunity. These are issues for Lopetegui to decide on during this pre-season. That's why he was brought in. That's why you have these games, for him to figure things out. And I think he can. I think you don't want to write Karim Benzema off too early. Not just yet.
Okay, so we might be looking for a new Galactico to take the position, but also for those other players to adapt to that as well. 3 big games following: Manchester United, Juventus and Roma, all for Real Madrid before they get the European Super Cup battle underway in Tallinn with Atletico. More here at ESPN, of course, full coverage of the International Champions Cup as well at Espn Fc. Time to check out the latest transfer rumours doing the rounds, flooding the market as we approach the season in earnest. Shaka, let's start off with Robert Lewandowski, the unhappy Robert Lewandowski. Although Niko Kovac, his coach at Bayern Munich, has said he's not going anywhere, could he still yet land at Chelsea?
I just don't think so. Given that the transfer window in England is closing a whole lot sooner than everybody else's, and given that Lewandowski, when he has been linked with a move away, has been to bigger clubs, and I know his stock has gone down somewhat, not been great at international level at the very least. I just feel he may hold out in the hope that Real Madrid, who he'd been linked with before, will somehow renew their interest. I just feel unsinking, is that whatever that word is, of the English and the European transfer window might cost some of the big English clubs in some of their pursuits.
Ah, yes.
We'll figure out that word, non-sinking.
The non-sinkable nature of the transfer window. Arturo Vidal to Inter Milan. Now, this could be a very interesting midfield, as Inter Milan have already acquired Raja Nainggolan, the best haircuts in central midfield in Europe.
Yeah. Probably the best box-to-box midfielders. I know there are a couple in there who want to claim as much. But alongside Nainggolan, that would be simply incredible. I think a return to Italy, Vidal would welcome as well. If Inter pull this off, that puts them on a different stratosphere, certainly in terms of their midfield. Look for them to be making a lot of noise in Italy and in European football this year.
Okay, the Argentine defender Rojo to Everton as Man United look for an actual central defender who can defend. Rojo to Everton at a price of 30 million.
Well, I should be asking you about this, Ross.
I'd say no.
Well,
stay away.
I'll follow your lead. It makes absolutely no sense to me either.
Okay, Aaron Ramsey to Chelsea. This could make a lot of sense if you see him for Sarri as the type of player to replace perhaps Marek Hamsik in that role at Napoli's midfield?
Look, makes a lot of sense, yes, but it also makes a lot of sense to stay at Arsenal. Arsenal with a new manager of their own in Unai Emery. I'm just not so sure that, despite the changes, you want to let go of somebody who has been as important to Arsenal over the years as Aaron Ramsey. No.
Okay.
Makes sense for Chelsea, makes no sense for Arsenal.
Divock Origi, who seems now as if he's not really going to win a place at Liverpool under Klopp, off to Besiktas. They want him on loan. Liverpool want an awful lot of money, as they always do when they sell their players. What do you think will happen with him?
Well, understandably, Liverpool want money. It's always better for them financially. But the truth is, I don't think there's a huge market for Divock Origi. I think it makes sense for the player. It makes sense for both clubs. Maybe have a clause in there that it becomes permanent. Whatever, you'll figure out the fine print later on. But in terms of the transfer, it makes sense.
All right, so that's the state of play. According to Shaka, let us know what you think at ESPN FC, and we'll be back with another one of these transfer races sooner than you like.